How is? I suppose it's about time I showed a video on actual magical practice that's anyone can do, but if you're a bit nervous or you're a bit easily spooked, I would probably suggest not doing it. But yeah, this is the real thing. Now, you often hear about, hear about the five sense universe and the quantum matrix and how all of this is an illusion created by our minds, but in order to assemble a cognitive understanding of space time so our minds don't blow up at once. Because we were basically everything in the universe is happening instantaneously at this second, past, present, and future, in this moment, forever, eternally. No past, no future. Our cognition at this stage of our development in terms of our neurology is not capable of understanding or comprehending, should I say, this concept. So we have a nervous system and a neurology, which basically limits, acts as a limiting factor with it of this universe in order to scale us down to something comprehensible. So the clock speed of our brain, the observation of the seasonal cycles, the pulsation of our nervous system, our five senses, and all this put together, our use of language, so on, in order to understand and not be destroyed by the incredible unreality of this universe. Just like in the Vedas, when Krishna says to Arjuna that the reality is beyond understanding. All we have is the manifest into the unmanifested into the manifest. We make this reality for us. Magic allows you to not only hack this, but also to change or alter it, to experiment with it. Now, we all know, we've all had magical experiences in our lives. We've all thought about someone and then they suddenly call on the phone. We've had remarkable synchronicities where things we needed to be just where we wanted them, when we needed them, would happen right away. And these give us an insight to unseen realms. Art allows us to have a further insight, but there's actual experimentation you can do. And one of these is to become invisible. And that's not, I mean that literally. You lose the visible sense of yourself. And if you're really good at this, you can actually make yourself invisible to other people. Now, it sounds fantastical, but only sounds fantastical in the concept of a reductionist materialist universe where everything is solid and there are basically at its most the expression of the monist of ancient Greeks, that everything is just made up of particles and those particles are solid. We know those particles are not solid, that there's enormous spaces between them, and the further you peer into the universe, the deeper you look in, the less visible and the less universe there is. Ultimately, it's consciousness that's stitching it all together. For instance, no one can really tell us what life is. Yes, you can take all the building blocks of a human body, and for instance, like go a protein shake down at the health food store, right? Got that with all its amino acids, electrolytes, and everything else has more or less the same thing that you're made of, but that's dead and you're alive. What's the difference between that and you? Consciousness. That's it. I mean, this is the primordial soup was not brought into living manifestation by a lightning bolt hitting it, as Darwin suggested, and was even pushed as late as the 1980s by Carl Sagan. That's shown to be complete nonsense now. Life is a complete mystery to science because they will not tackle the hard question, the C word, consciousness. This is the prevailing factor. This is why everything from SETI research to even understanding the nature of ourselves in terms of our atomic structure, in terms of how we're feeling ourselves and so on, is discarded for this belief that somehow we are inanimate objects that are somehow mobilized, and life is just purely a trick of neurology, and chemical processes. It's not like that at all. It's not like that. It's still something they can't They cannot explain the diversity of life, even, let alone how life comes about. There's no reason why there should be an abundance of life, according to the standard Darwinian model, at the bottom of the ocean, where you have these black smokers spewing out toxic, dangerous gases from volcanoes under the sea. And what do we find down there? An abundance of life. And they said it would not be possible without sunlight reaching it. Same with that cave in Romania that was opened after 2.5 million years. It's full of animals that adapted. What causes that adaptation? They will tell you that it's Darwinian changes according to needs that arise within the environment regarding predators and prey, or changes in environmental happenstance. It's not that at all. It doesn't happen like that. The animals actually alter themselves. We can see that in real time with things like chameleons. We can see that with octopuses. We can see that with cuttlefish. The diversity of life is created by a necessity manufactured through consciousness. And that's really where it all begins. That is the missing factor. They do not want to look at consciousness because consciousness has replaced God for these people. It's something they don't want to deal with. Because in some ways, God was easier to deal with than consciousness. Because consciousness that is outside the domain of their material five-sense universe. Now, I have tried this experiment before, and it's not unusual, but it was a recent encounter with an occultist friend in the US that gave me the missing link because I've had someone to have a reference with. I'm not going to tell you what we did because that's a magical secret, but I'm going to tell you what I can do, and since coming back I've done it, and it works spectacularly well. You can make yourself invisible to yourself, and like Crowley, if you really have a highly attenuated nervous system with a powerful sense of will, you can vanish to the rest of the world. And anyone can do this. Now, this comes with a caveat. No, it actually comes with a warning. I would suggest that this process of invisibility creates a sensation in the mind where the uncanny valley switches into action. The uncanny valley is when your mind cannot recognize something, your cognition cannot recognize something, so it tries to make sense of it. And what will happen is, I'll explain it to you as I'm going along in the process, the possibilities. This could actually turn out to be very frightening for some people. They're going to have the brain will start to fight what's happening because it cannot comprehend the invisibility of you disappearing in front of yourself. You need to go in first of all, you need a darkened room, a room that's dark. Now, behind you have a single light. A candle is commonly used because it has a ritualistic nature. I've had excellent success with just a light on in the other room and the door open, but it must be directly behind you. A small light bulb, a small LED flashlight on a table pointing upwards. You have to have a light behind you. And you're staring towards a mirror. The mirror should basically give you enough vision of yourself from, say, the bottom of your rib cage to just over your head, 4 or 5 inches over your head. You're standing and you're looking at the mirror. What you see behind you is the glow of light. So you're seeing yourself in silhouette, but you're seeing enough. Make sure you can see enough of yourself so you're not a shadow person. That will happen later. You can see enough of yourself where you can see your facial features clearly, and you can see your clothes clearly. It doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't, if you're naked or anything, it doesn't matter. It's your face that plays the prominent part in this, because this is the dissolving of the identity, the visual identity. And so your face is something you see nearly every day, whether you're looking in the mirror when you're getting ready in the morning, you'll catch a glimpse of yourself in a shop window or a passing bus or tram. You will always see your face. Your face is your reference for this reality. Now, so you're in your room, sitting or standing. Make sure it's probably better to sit because you're comfortable. I prefer standing because I like to build up a sense of tension before I do this, but that's not necessary. With the light behind you and you're staring in the mirror, just breathe and empty your mind of thoughts. Empty your mind of all thoughts and just relax. And if it take that can be often be the most difficult part is emptying your mind of thoughts, especially the first time you've done this. But it will happen. Then begin to stare where your third eye is, in the reflection in the mirror. You're staring at your third eye in the reflection. Don't wander your eyesight. Don't look at your eyes. Now, it will happen because your left brain is naturally inquisitive of what's going on, and the uncanny valley will kick in. Now, it will happen surprisingly quickly. Surprisingly quickly. As you're staring at it, the first thing that will happen is your eyes will begin to dissolve. Now, that automatically freaks people out. Sometimes the left dissolves, sometimes the right dissolves. Looks like it's melting wax falling down. Sometimes they just kind of go away and you just see skin and the eyebrows vanish as well. And the bridges, another weird one is the bridge of the nose tends to get a bit wider. This will instantly distract you and you go, what? And then you're back to your normal face. That's a completely normal reaction the first time you've done this. This is how you're training your will. This is a very good for training your will. Your face will disappear and you go, oh, and you come back, right? Now, go back, and also blinking can do it. Try not to be distracted. It's difficult, like meditating, it's difficult at first, but you will get there. Continue staring at the third eye. The entire face will vanish and you will look like you will have no facial features. You'll basically be a grey ball, okay? Now this is I wouldn't say the dangerous, but this is the part for someone who's nervous. The brain goes into uncanny valley because you're not meditating. Remember, in a fully cognitive state. The brain goes into uncanny valley, and in order to try and snap you out of it, will often make your face look like a demon or a woman or a different person. And that's to kind of flash you back into normal cognition. What's happening here is your neurology and your cognition is losing control. And your subconscious mind is taking on your nervous system. You're getting root one directly to the nervous system. And what's happening is it's trying to say, don't do that. This is a survival technique, by the way, that your brain, an evolutionary survival technique. That might happen. It can't, but if it does happen, don't walk away thinking I'm a demon. This is your brain trying to shock you out of it, almost like a shock. Don't do that. Continue to look at the face. 99 times, no, I'd say 75 times out of 100, you won't get the demon face, but some do. I've only got it once, and that was years ago. And so as the face is dissolving, you will then notice something else happens. You can't see it close. If you could now remember, you're still staring at the third eye here. You're not looking around. You're seeing a full peripheral kind. It changes to a different kind of vision, and you start basically turning into a shadow person. It's very much similar to the kind of things you have during certain like mushroom trips, where you go through phases, different stages of the trip. You're then a shadow person. In a very strange shadow, I might add. It's a grey, sometimes almost purplish, light purple, like a mauve, greyish shape of yourself. Then you know you're on your way. You become invisible in terms of features. That's stage one. Then something quite remarkable happens. You will start to notice light emanating from your body. This is your aura. And for the first time ever, you will see your aura. Now, what it looks like is a projection of light about 6 inches off your skin that goes around your entire body. And you look a bit like one of Keith Haring's sort of like dancing men drawings that he had from the 80s that was used in a lot of advertising. You could, like, not stick figure, more like a kind of a roly-poly figure. And you've got around that, you've got yourself that auric field. It's very bright light here generally. It fades off. But what's interesting is it doesn't suddenly fade off. There's a very clear demarcation line. It's very interesting. It doesn't. You think that it would dissipate off into the universe, but it doesn't. It seems to stop about 6 inches away from your body. That's stage 2. And stage 3 is the shadow person you create starts to vanish. Now, this is often the part that's very panicky because you think you're dying or so. You don't feel like you're dying. but you think like, am I vanishing from the earth? You actually, well, you're not vanishing from the earth. Your five sense cognition reality tunnel of your quantum body, whatever you want to call it, is vanishing. And eventually you will see the candle behind you. This is usually quite a frightening experience for people, and they suddenly snap out and they see themselves and everything's okay again. You're not in danger, you're not going to vanish from the earth. Now, that's as far as I've taken it to seeing the light behind me, okay? Complete invisibility to my own vision, okay? It also brings up issues regarding what is a mirror exactly. Is what is in that mirror? Is the mirror really me? Now, there are experiments that have been done where people have put mirrors on the side of themselves, and again, they vanish on the side. So it's not a frontal face-on experience. Crowley, when he was in Mexico, did this every single day until eventually he was gone. And it doesn't matter if you're wearing clothes or not, it all vanishes. The perception of yourself. And he went around naked for a laugh around Mexico City, and I think it was Tijuana. Sorry, was it Tijuana, Mexico City? Naked in the streets, and no one saw him. So you can do this. I know this sounds amazing, but it doesn't really. It only sounds amazing if you're stuck in this five sense reality, or you think that you're created by some Jewish super fairy in space. It's not like that at all. You have complete mastery over your existence. Now, this is a secret. This is not a lot of people know about this. And one of the reasons now I told you there is another method of this using two people. I've done it, but I'm not going to go public with it because the other person developed this technique, basically making both of ourselves invisible. And that was proof because you've got a reference. I can't see you, you can't see me. Therefore, we're not there. Other than the consciousness, this is probably what the shadow people are. They're not fully man. They're probably people who are invisible, who attained invisibility, and can actually move into your house at night and look at you and stuff like that. This brings off all kinds of things, or maybe there's someone who's trapped in that state and never fully developed. But this is a Pandora's box I'm opening up for you here. So that's how to make yourself invisible, literally. People are going to laugh and ridicule this. I don't care. I mean, seeing and unseeing is believing. And the difference between, and someone left a fantastic comment on the other video about the wrong kind of sorcery down the list here, about the Count did, and he said that the Western magical tradition basically became the Enlightenment, and the greatest act of sorcery was the harnessing of the electron. I would add the next to that was the greatest act of sorcery after that was the understanding of quantum physics. They're both Western things, and they both developed in the Western idea, and that includes the Vedic world, which is part of the West. It's the Indo-European thing, and that's how to make yourself invisible. Again, I would encourage anyone to try this. Please, I'd love to hear your experiences. It's what's beautiful about it is that it's slightly different for everyone. Some people actually see a more colourful shape of themselves. Some people see an auric field that's very narrow. Some people see them as very wide. But they all seem to notice the demarcation line. It's an interesting one. And try this, but with the proviso that if you're very easily spooked or anything like that, your brain will try to shock you out of it and put you into uncanny valley. You might see yourself looking like a demon or looking like a lion. That's a common one as well. And that's your brain trying to make sense and say, get back into your cognition, get back into your cognition. So there you have it. You can make yourself invisible to yourself, and if you're really good, to the rest of the world. It's not nonsense. It's not stupid. It's real. It's a fact. I've done it many times, and I've had tremendous success in the last 24 hours doing it, mainly because I got this occultist friend of mine in America helped me take it to the next level. I can do it almost instantaneously now. On the more pragmatic level, if you're prone to blinking, maybe put some if you have like a lot of dry eyes, a lot of smokers blink a lot. Try to put eye drops in there that will actually, help relax your eyes. It's a good thing to do that. If you wear glasses, take them off, because all they do is they add an extra dimension of things, and they don't, for some reason they do interrupt. It might have to do with the glass in the glasses and the glass in the mirror. Again, what is a mirror? What is a reflection? Is it another reality? Is it the true reality of yourself projected back to you for the first time ever? You know, from looking at your reflection in water by the ancient people to mirrors today to scrying. And don't worry if you see yourself as a demon or a lion. You're not being punished by baby Jesus. That's just your brain in uncanny valley trying to get you back to rational cognition. And that's it. That's how you make yourself invisible.